17th century, the Great Age of the Pipe. When tillage begins, other arts follow. The farmers therefore are the founders of human civilization. Daniel Webster. 1782–1852. Tobacco comes into use as country money or country pay in the colonies. Tobacco continues to be used as a monetary standard, literally a cash crop, throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, lasting twice as long as the gold standard. So prominent is the place that tobacco occupies in the early records of the Middle Southern states, that its cultivation and commercial associations may be said to form the basis of their history. It was the direct source of their wealth, and became for a while the representative of gold and silver, the standard value of other merchantable products, and this tradition was further preserved by the stamping of a tobacco leaf upon the old continental money used in the Revolution. 19th century historian. 1600s, popes banned smoking in holy places. Pope Urban VIII, 1623–44, threatens excommunication for those who smoke or take snuff in holy places. 1600, Brazil, European cultivation of tobacco begins. 1600, England, Sir Walter Raleigh persuades Queen Elizabeth to try smoking. 1601, Turkey, smoking is introduced, and rapidly takes hold while clerics denounce it. Puffing in each other's faces, they made the streets and markets stink, writes historian Ibrahim Pasavi. 1602, England, publication of work of chimney sweepers by anonymous author identified as Philreitz states that illness of chimney sweepers is caused by soot and that tobacco may have similar effects. 1602, England, Roger Marquette writes a defense of tobacco, in response to chimney sweeps. 1603, England, physicians are upset that tobacco used by people without physician prescription, complain to King James I. 1604, England, King James I writes a counterblast to tobacco. 1604, England, King James I increases import tax on tobacco 4,000%. 1605, England, debate between King James I and Dr. Chagnall. 1606, Spain, King Philip decrees that tobacco may only be grown in specific locations including Cuba, Santo Domingo, Venezuela and Puerto Rico. Sale of tobacco to foreigners is punishable by death. 1606 plus, advertising, England, America and advertising begin to grow together. One of the first products heavily marketed is America itself. Richard Hofstadter called the Virginia Company's recruitment effort for its new colony one of the first concerted and sustained advertising campaigns in the history of the modern world. The out-of-place, out-of-work gentlemen in overpopulated England were sold quite a bill of goods about the bountiful land and riches to be had in the New World. Daniel J. Boorstin has mused whether there was a kind of natural selection here of those people who were willing to believe in advertising. 1607, Jamestown saga begins. 1610, England, Sir Francis Bacon writes that tobacco use is increasing and that it is a custom hard to quit. 1610, England, Edmund Gardner publishes William Barclay's The Trial of Tobacco and provides a text of recipes and medicinal preparations. Barclay defends tobacco as a medicine but condemns casual use. 1612, China, Imperial Edict forbidding the planting and use tobacco. 1612, Jamestown, John Rolfe raises Virginia's first commercial crop of tall tobacco. 1614, Spain, King Philip III establishes Seville as tobacco center of the world. Attempting to prevent a tobacco glut, Philip requires all tobacco grown in the Spanish New World to be shipped to a central location, Seville, Spain. Seville becomes the world center for the production of cigars. European cigarette use begins here, as beggars patch together tobacco from used cigars, and roll them in paper pamphlets. Spanish and Portuguese sailors spread the practice to Russia and the Levant. 1614-04, Jamestown, John Rolfe and Pocahontas, Rebecca, are married. 1614, England, first sale of native Virginia tobacco in England, Virginia colony enters world tobacco market, under English protection. 1614, England, tea here be 7,000 shops, in and about London, that doth vent tobacco, the honesty of this age, proving by good circumstance that the world was never honest till now, by Barnaby Wright gentleman. 1614, Literature, Nepenthe, or the Virtues of Tobacco, by William Barclay, Edinburgh. 1614, Recommends exclusively tobacco of American origin. June 3, 1616, Jamestown, John Rolfe and Pocahontas arrive in London, 1617, Dr. William Vaughan writes. Tobacco, that outlandish weed. It spends the brain and spoils the seed. It dulls the spirit, it dims the sight. It robs a woman of her right, 1617, Mongolia, Emperor places death penalty on using tobacco. 1619, England, an unhappy King James I incorporates British pipe makers. 1619, Jamestown, first Africans brought into Virginia. John Rolfe writes in his diary, about the last of August came in a Dutch man of war that sold us 20 niggers. 1619, Jamestown, first shipment of wives for settlers arrives. Future husbands had to pay for his prospective mate's passage, 120 pounds of tobacco. 1620, England, 40,000 pounds of tobacco imported from Virginia. 1620, trade agreement between the Crown and Virginia Company bans commercial tobacco growing in England, in return for a 1 shilling per pound duty on Virginia tobacco. 1621, 60 future wives arrive in Virginia and sell for 150 pounds of tobacco each. Price up since 1619. 1621, England, Tobias Venner publishes a brief and accurate treatise, concerning tobacco claiming medicinal properties, but condemning use for pleasure. 1624, Pope threatens excommunication for snuff users, sneezing is thought too close to sexual ecstasy. 1628, Shah Sufi punishes 2 merchants for selling tobacco by pouring hot lead down their throat. 1631, European cultivation of tobacco begins in Maryland. 1632, Massachusetts forbids public smoking. 1633, Connecticut settled, first tobacco crop raised in Windsor. 1633, Turkey, Sultan Murad IV orders tobacco users executed as infidels. As many as 18 a day were executed. Some historians consider the ban an anti-plague measure, some a fire prevention measure. 1634, Russia, Tsar Alexis creates penalties for smoking. First offense is whipping, a slit nose, and transportation to Siberia. Second offense is execution. 1634, Europe, Greek church claims that it was tobacco smoke that intoxicated Noah and so bans tobacco use. 1635, France, king allows sale of tobacco only following prescription by physician. 1637, France, King Louis XIII enjoys snuff and repeals restrictions on its use. 1638, China, use or distribution of tobacco is made a crime punishable by decapitation. 1639, New York City, Governor Kieft bans smoking in New Amsterdam. 1640, Greenwich Village, NY is known to Native Americans as var, Sapon-Canakin tobacco fields, or land where the tobacco grows. In 1629, New Amsterdam's Governor Wouter van Twiller appropriated a farm belonging to the Dutch West India Company in the Bossenbury farm in the woods area of Manhattan Island, and began growing tobacco. The first Dutch references to the Indians' name for the area appear around 1640. 1647, Turkey, tobacco ban is lifted. Pasavi writes that tobacco has now joined coffee, wine and opium as one of the 4 cushions on the sofa of pleasure. 1647, Colony of Connecticut bans public smoking. Citizens may smoke only once a day, and then not in company with any other. 1650, Colony of Connecticut General Court orders, no smoking by person under age of 21, no smoking except with physician's order. TSW, 1660, England, the restoration of the monarchy. The court of Charles II returns to London from exile in Paris, bringing the French court's snuffing practice with them. Snuff becomes an aristocratic form of tobacco use. During Charles' reign, 1660 to 1685, the growing of tobacco in England, except for small lots in physic gardens, is forbidden so as to preserve the taxes coming in from Virginian imports. 1661, Virginia Assembly begins institutionalizing slavery, making it de jure. 1665, Europe, the Great Plague. Smoking tobacco is thought to have a protective effect. 1665, Health, England, Samuel Pepys describes a Royal Society experiment in which a cat quickly dies when fed a drop of distilled oil of tobacco. 1666, Maryland faces oversupply, bans production of tobacco for 1 year. 1675, Switzerland, the Bern Town Council establishes a special chambres de tabac to deal with smokers, who face the same dire penalties as adulterers. 1676, heavy taxes levied in tobacco by Virginia Governor Barclay lead to Bacon's Rebellion, a foretaste of American Revolution.